unique opportunity with these birds that we work with to share some of those problems in a circumstance where you're primed and ready to listen, right? If I stood up here and stood in front of a crowd of you folks and just started telling you all the bad stuff that you're doing, you're pretty quickly going to tune me out. But if a spectacled owl flies right past your head, all of a sudden you're paying attention, right? We have this really unique tool in these birds that we work with to create a platform upon which we can share that information to hopefully start minimizing those problems that we're causing. So the organization today is called the Avian Conservation Center. That's our umbrella organization. The public part of the facility where you are right now, that's the Center for Birds of Prey. We operate our avian medical clinic, which is on another corner of our campus back behind you. And we also operate what we call the South Carolina Oil Bird Response Facility, which is a component of our hospital to deal with birds in the event of an oil spill. So we do a lot of different things right here on this one campus, all centered around birds. We know that birds are really great things to pay attention to. Why are they great things to pay attention to? Well, they're kind of fun, first of all. Right? They fly, they sing, they're colorful, they're easily accessible, right? They're everywhere you go. So what better to pay attention to than the stuff that's already around you? We also know that birds are incredibly sensitive to change. The canary in the coal mine, right? Everybody's heard that story before, and we can broaden that and apply it to all birds. Changes are going to affect birds before they affect us, right? So if we're paying attention to them, if we're being good stewards of them, we're going to see what the problems are before they get on down the line and start affecting you and me. So we utilize these birds, again, as a platform to discuss those bigger, broader issues that we see in our medical facility and around the world. So this is called a spectacled owl. It's a native of Central and South America. We met the spectacled owls on the tour, the ones with the low drumming call that they make. Those birds that we saw on the tour are actually the parents of this young male that we fly in our demonstrations. A species that unfortunately is seeing declines throughout its range. Native to the Amazon basin and rainforest dweller. So if you pay any attention to the news cycle about the Amazon rainforest, you know that it's not so great news, right? We're seeing declines in that habitat throughout their range. And as a consequence, this is a species of priority in terms of conservation breeding. We talked a little bit about it on the tour, but if we understand how to get these animals to reproduce in captivity, we can be better prepared to address the crises that they might face in the wild. They're not yet an endangered species. They're not yet being released into the wild from captive stock, but we feel pretty confident that that change is coming, right? And that we need to be ready for it, and we don't want to wait until the crisis arises before we're learning how to generate the tool. One of the coolest things I think about owls is how stealthy they are. So he could fly right past you and you wouldn't know he was coming if you weren't looking. He's got adaptations built into his feather coat that allow for that silent flight. It comes at a cost. Owls are not high-speed flyers. They're not long-distance flyers. They're not known for their incredible efficiency, but they can sneak through the night sky without making so much as a sound, which allows them not only to sneak up on prey, but it also allows them to use their incredible hearing to locate that prey. Those flat faces that we see in all the owls, those are their facial discs, which are akin in function to our outer ear. They're just like the flaps that we have on the side of our head, except they sit on the face of the owl, which allows them in many cases to capture prey that they've never even seen before. So one issue to point out as it relates specifically to some of the larger owls, and I'll use the spectacled owl just as a representative of those that it's related to. It's most closely related to the eagle owl, so like our great horned owl. An issue you may not be aware of that affects this group very negatively, and it also affects a number of other wildlife, and is happening here in the Low Country and happening all over the world. It relates to our relationship to rodents. So how many of you share your home landscape with rodents? Where are my rodent liver withers? Yeah? And how many of you are blissfully ignorant to the fact that you share your home landscape with rodents? All the rest of your hands should go up, right? They're there, whether you like it or not. They are around us, and they are sometimes in our face. And we don't like that. It can create issues for us. And so we want to keep those rodents out of our homes. We want to kill the ones that get into our homes. And one of the ways that humans have devised to control rodents are products that we call the second generation anticoagulant rodenticides, SGARs, they're sometimes called. These are products like Decon, the bait stations that you might put out to kill rodents. And unfortunately, what most people don't realize about those products, while they are convenient and easy to use, and you don't have to worry about dead rodents showing up and cleaning up the dead rodents, just put out the bait stations and all of a sudden your problem disappears. What they don't realize is that the rodent eats the bait and starts to feel sick. And then he doesn't die immediately. He starts to feel sick and he wanders out into your yard after starting to feel sick. And what happens to a sick rodent that's wandering out in your yard? Somebody eats him. A predator eats him. And what most people are unaware of, or at least don't like to recognize, is the fact that the poison you intended for the rodent is also toxic to all of the predators that might eat him. Kiowa Island here in the Low Country lost almost all of their bobcats because of anticoagulant rodenticide poisoning. We see it all the time in our avian medical clinic, and there's not much we can do to treat it. Unfortunately, by the time they end up with us, in most cases, they're already too far gone for us to bring them back from the effects of those products. So what do we do to fix that problem? We stop using those products. We become more aware of when we see those products in use. We put pressure on businesses to stop using those products, to look for better alternatives. What I will, this is my soapbox that I'm standing up on right now. I don't do it very often, but please do not use those products. If you're using them around your home, stop using them. There are lots of ways to control rodents. Snap traps work great. They're just a little less pleasant for us because you have to deal with the dead rat at the end of it, right? But they kill the rat just like the poison might. And again, the after effects of that poisoning are, again, it's horrific to see a bird dying from it. We get young birds, great horned owls specifically, young great horned owls that have been fed rodents by their parents that have rodenticides in them. These birds haven't even left the nest yet, and they're dying from secondary poisoning. It's easily avoidable if we just make an effort to not utilize those products. Soapbox stepped off of. Any questions at this point while Siobhan's making a close-up with the spectacled owl? Nobody has any questions? Any questions from the heater gallery? No? All right. Guess I better find another soapbox to stand on then.
I have a question.
Yes.
If you trap the rat and you throw it out into your yard after you killed it, snap trap,
So if you trap the rat and then throw it out in your yard after you killed it in the snap trap, right? And then you just put it out there, is that okay to do? Is that safe to do? What I would say is that it's not necessarily safe, right? You don't know that that rat didn't eat your neighbor's rat poison before he got snapped in your snap trap, right? So what I would say is that for the most part, burying it somewhere where it isn't available for a predator or a scavenger, right? Your question, would an owl come and eat it? Probably not. Owls don't scavenge quite as much as any of the other birds, but a turkey vulture would eat it, and it's toxic to turkey vultures too. Or your dog might eat it, and it's toxic to your dog too. So I would say it's just not safe to assume that he didn't eat that poison somewhere else before he got to your snap trap. It's so prevalently used. Next time you go to a fast food restaurant, next time you go to Costco or Lowe's, just note how many of these bait stations you see around those facilities. It is alarming when you start paying attention to how prevalent they are. They're everywhere because, again, it's an easy, convenient, perceived safe solution to a problem that unfortunately has a horrible side effect. Other questions? Spectacled owl making its rounds. Okay. Yes.
Is there not some type of vitamin, a D vitamin or something that they claim sometimes are in those bait stations, or is that
that they claim are in those bait stations? So I don't know. All I know is that the majority of the bait stations are SGARs, second generation anticoagulants. There are a whole long list of them, the bros and the diphenyl, I mean, right, there are all kinds of chemical names that I don't fully understand. But there may be other chemicals in there. They may claim to be safer. And there are lists that you can look at that will tell you, is this a safe alternative or is this just another one of those SGARs in disguise? Okay, we've been joined by our next bird. This is one of the small owls. So when we started the tour, I asked how many owl species are there in South Carolina, and we know there are 4. We said great horned owl, barred owl, barn owl, and eastern screech owl. We didn't see a screech owl on the tour. We do have a screech owl on display off on the other side of this building here if you wanted to go over and look at it afterwards. But this is a close relative of the eastern screech owl.
Just
called the
checking to
northern
see if they're paying
white-faced
attention.
owl. So one of what we call the Scots owls or the screech owls. So we can see some interesting parallels to the big owls that we saw, right? He's got those plumicorns on the top of his head, just like the eagle owls did. He's got light-colored irises, just like the eagle owls do, but he's much, much smaller. It is not because he is young, although this is a young bird. This is a full-grown adult northern white-faced owl, native to sub-Saharan Africa. Again, very similar to our eastern screech owl. A little bit larger in overall size, but very, very similar in most respects. Diet primarily insects. So this is an example of where a similar poisoning story could be told about this group, right? They eat lots of insects, and we as humans certainly utilize a lot of chemicals to control our insect populations, which are negatively affecting these birds. In general, they're not quite as deadly as those rodenticides are, but they reduce the number of insects that are available for them to eat, and ultimately we don't know the long-term effects of those products on birds like this. You can see that he is very keyed in to all of the activity around him, which makes very good sense when we consider how small he is. A bird like that could be eaten by any number of other predators, right? And he has to make sure that he is safe, looking around, making sure that nobody's sneaking up on him, always kind of taking his time before making a move, sneaking past you if you're not watching. You'll also notice, I don't know if they talked about it with the teaser bird, but all the birds that we fly in these demonstrations are wearing antennas. We'll see an antenna on their body in one location or another. His is on his back on a little backpack. That's a radio transmitter that would allow us to track him in the event that he decided to go on an unauthorized field trip, which does happen. He is free at this point to go wherever he chooses. He can fly off if he wants to. It does occasionally happen, and we need that radio transmitter to help us to locate him in that event. These little birds, the eastern screech owls especially, end up in our medical clinic for a variety of issues. Car collision is number one. Unfortunately, car collision is a really challenging issue to resolve. We all drive cars on roads. These birds have to cross those roads. What solutions do we have? We can keep the highway edge clean. That's one way to minimize the number of owls and other predators that might hang out by those road edges. The litter that we throw out by the highway attracts mice and insects, the prey for this bird. If we attract his prey to the roadside, we're going to attract him to the roadside. But unfortunately, the simple reality is that owls cross the road to get to the other side. And unfortunately, when we drive on those roadways, we immediately put them at risk. So be cautious when you're driving through wooded habitats. Be cautious when you're driving through places where you expect there might be owls, especially right around dawn and dusk, which is when most of the owls are most active.
Do any random owls just show up here?
Do any random owls just show up here on our campus? Yes, sometimes. So we had an Owls by Moonlight probably 5 years ago, and we were flying a Eurasian eagle owl that we were training at the time. Huge owl, right? And she landed on this center perch, and out of nowhere, an eastern screech owl, tiny little guy, flew in and started mobbing the giant eagle owl, right? Saw her as a threat, wanted to scare her away, knew that if she stayed above her, she was quick enough to get away, right? We once had a barn owl. It's the only time I've ever seen a barn owl in flight in my life. Another Owls by Moonlight right here in the outdoor classroom. We were cleaning up at the end of the event, and a barn owl flew through the owl courtyard all around the corner. So we get random owls. We're in the middle of great owl habitat, right? The fact that we're all here has got them all the wild owls, that is, on edge right now, right? They're not going to be hooting. You're not going to hear a great horned owl that's sitting right over there or the barred owl that's sitting right over here because we're here. But I can tell you that during the day, right around dawn and dusk here at the center, we hear them all the time. They're all over the place. It's especially this time of year. Great question. Any other questions while the white-faced owl's making his rounds?
What can we do to encourage owls into our backyard?
Great question. What do you do to encourage owls into your backyard? So the best course of action for encouraging any wildlife into your backyard is to maintain as much of a native habitat as possible in your backyard. Not always possible, right? But you can plant native vegetation, you can keep a buffer around your yard. All of those things, what do? They attract the prey, right? So think like an owl. What does an owl want to be in your backyard? You want some mice in your backyard or some insects in your backyard. You might not want that, right? But you can keep it away from your house, right? If you've got a buffer around the edge of your yard, that might be good habitat for mice and voles. The other thing that a lot of folks latch onto because it seems relatively simple, it's not always as effective as attracting prey to your yard and then attracting the predators, would be to put up a nest box. So many owls are cavity nesters. The screech owls and the barred owls and the barn owls here in South Carolina all nest in holes in trees. If you're like me, a tree in your yard gets old and dies and has holes in it, what do? You cut it down, right? You don't want it to fall in your house. And what you're doing there is you're taking away that habitat from the owl. So what can you do to mitigate that negative impact? Well, you can put a box up on a healthy tree that mimics a cavity, and that way if the owls are around, maybe they'll nest in it. So I'll give you an anecdote. Here on our campus, we had an Eagle Scout do a project with us where he built like 15 eastern screech owl nest boxes and put them up on our campus with the goal of increasing habitat for eastern screech owls. We know we have eastern screech owls here. Those boxes have been in place for over a decade, and none of them have eastern screech owls in them. They have gray squirrels in them, lots of them. So what does that tell me? That tells me that because of the quality of this habitat, I don't think the screech owls really need those nest boxes, right? We've got plenty of trees with plenty of holes in them for all of the owls that could want to live here to live in. But in your home landscape, right, if you live in suburbia, you probably don't have a whole lot of that. So maybe put up a nest box to encourage those owls that might be in the neighborhood to hang out there.
Thank you. What was this?
How high up do you put it? I am not an expert on that, so I would defer you to the Cornell University website. They've got some good plans for owl boxes and how to locate them, and I don't want to give you bad information.
What is this guy?
What is this guy? So our final owl in the program tonight is one of the which group of owls? The wood owl, right? So what is this species scientific genus? What is the genus? Strix, right? Not one of the buboes, not one of the eagle owls. This is one of the wood owls. This is Strix uralensis, the Ural owl. Ural owls are native to northern Asia and Europe. The Ural mountains that cut Russia into two pieces are one part of their habitat. Very similar to the barred owl that we have here in South Carolina. Shorter wings, longer tail, high degree of maneuverability. Old growth forests are the norm in terms of their habitat. And as you might imagine, like many species that live in old growth forests, they are not seeing an increase in their available habitat anywhere on planet Earth, nor can we expect them ever to see an increase in their habitat anywhere on planet Earth. So they are particularly vulnerable to habitat loss and the changes associated with it. This guy has decided to go off into the woods. It's okay. It's happened before. And again, he's wearing a radio transmitter. This is a young bird. It's actually the first Ural owl that we have bred here at the Center for Birds of Prey since about 2006. So he's an exciting addition to our program. He hatched this past spring, and he is one of the few Ural owls bred in captivity here in the United States. And again, he's a part of a bigger picture. There's a concept called a species survival plan. And essentially what that means is that we all, those of us in this industry that work with these animals, that breed them in captivity, we all get together and we all cooperate as best we can to maximize our ability to produce these birds in captivity, to be able to respond by releasing them back in the wild. So ultimately, this guy will not be released back into the wild. He was raised by hand. He's a human imprint, so we talked about that on the tour. He can't go back into the wild, but ultimately we hope that he will reproduce, and if he does, his offspring could be released back into the wild. Or 3 or 4 generations down the line, they could be released back into the wild when the need arises. So he represents a pretty exciting occurrence here at the center in terms of our ability to help protect these species in the wild. those big facial discs are clearly obvious on the wood owls, right? I talked about the outer ear, those plates of skin around their eyes, and off into the wood candy, He's just learning how to do owls by moonlight. It's okay. How many owls do we have here? Audrey? How many owls do we have? 35 or 40, approximately. 14, I believe we have 14 different species of owl in our educational collection. So, I mean, that number sometimes increases, right? This guy is brand new, and sometimes it decreases, right? They are like every other living thing. They die, and we have to be prepared to ultimately replace them or find another way to educate. He says, I want to fly some more.
Sounds like it.
That's the hardest thing to ask him to do. Right? You notice how quickly he followed Justine to every perch she went to, right? And quickly flew and landed on those perches. But now she's asking him to do something a little more difficult. She's asking him to come and land on her glove, come close to her. He's a little less likely to be interested in doing that. And so Justine's going to shift her tactic,
He's falling.
get him to a lower perch, where she can then get her on her glove. So all the training, we didn't talk about this at all, but all this training is based on positive reinforcement. We ask the bird to do something, and when it does what we ask, we reward it for doing that. And ultimately, that results in that behavior happening more and more frequently. There's no magic to it. It's just repeating those simple behaviors over and over again until the bird gets good at it. Obviously, they get better with age. Most of the birds that you saw in the program tonight are actually quite young. They're newer members of our flight team. So you can expect that as they continue to do this more and more often, their reliability will go up, I guess, as time goes on. What questions do we have about the Ural owl? Any?
How long do they live?
How long do they live? So potentially 40 or 50 years. One of the groups on the tour, I know we talked about it, the milky eagle owl that we saw is in his mid-50s. So birds can live a long time. Average life expectancy for this species would be in the neighborhood of 2 years in nature. Most of them don't live to their first birthday. It's just hard to be a bird, right? And so if they're lucky enough to make it to their first birthday, likelihood that they make it to their second birthday is a little better, the third and fourth, and the potential is well into the 40s and 50s.
Do they mate precinct?
Do they hybridize, mate between the species? Yeah, so hybridization, we talked about it on one of the tours with the barred owl. We talked about how the barred owl has moved into spotted owl habitat in the western United States, and one of the issues that creates is that barred owls and spotted owls hybridize, and that blurs the line, and spotted owls are an endangered species, so it creates some issues there, right? We know with birds in general, if you're in the same genus, hybridization is no big deal. It happens pretty commonly. Interestingly, most places don't have multiple species in the same genus, right? Here in South Carolina, we only have one Screech owl, and we only have one bubo owl, but some places have multiple species and they do interbreed, and that's one of the ways we get new species. Any other questions about the Ural owl, or any general questions at this point? I mentioned it a little earlier, or I kind of alluded to it, but we have a special occurrence at our Owls by Moonlight tonight that we are glad to share with all of you. It doesn't happen at every Owls by Moonlight, so you're a lucky group, but we have an owl that we are going to release from our Avian Medical Clinic. So this is a barred owl that came into our medical clinic about 3 months ago after a collision with a vehicle, had trauma and swelling around the eyes and a lot of general inflammation, but fortunately didn't have any fractured bones, didn't have any real long-term issues, and so we are able to put this bird back out into the wild tonight here on our campus, which is fantastic. Again, barred owls are our most common patient in our hospital. I don't have a number offhand to quote you in terms of how many we see a year, but Lots of them, unfortunately.
Do you have a tracker
And
on
again,
that?
primarily car collision related injuries.
Do you have a tracker on that one?
So is there a tracker on it? So unfortunately, transmitters are cost prohibitive for us to put them on every bird that we treat and release in our hospital. It's a challenge. And while historically we have used banding as a way to track birds, banding is another complicated issue. All of the work that we do here, by the way, is done under permit from the federal government. So the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service allows us to do certain things and doesn't allow us to do others. And one of the things we don't currently have a permit for, only because permits for banding go with an individual rather than an organization. We don't currently have an individual on our staff who has a banding permit. So this bird is not marked in any way that would help us to recognize it, unfortunately. And it doesn't have a transmitter to help us to track it, because that would cost you. Nor has it been trained, right? So, and that's intentional, right? This is a bird that came in, looks at all of you, and says, "Oh my God, there's a giant predator about to eat me." Right? Horribly afraid, ready to go, and get back out into the wild. No training has happened here. This is a bird that was treated and again got a clean bill of health from our veterinary ophthalmologist. The biggest issue it had was eye trauma, and we work with a wide variety of veterinarians, including veterinary ophthalmologist, a specialist in animal eyes, and she cleared this bird for release just the other day. And so we're ready to get it back out there in the wild. So if you're all ready,
How long was it there?
how long was it there? I'll have to look at the message that I got. Hold on, give me a second. I don't know every bird's story, so I have to quote what we got from the other staff. Here we go. Let's pull it up. Pulling up the note. October 30th was when, transferred to us on 11/2. So it's been here for a little over a month, recovering from head trauma and eye injury.
Is there anything that we can do as the public to help you with this issue to get them released?
So is there anything that you as the public can do to help us? So let's get this bird out of here first, and then we'll talk about that, okay? Because I think that's a great way for us to kind of conclude our discussion. But we want to get this bird back out in the wild. So
Maybe he'd like to stay here.
I don't think so. I think you're going to see that this bird does not want any part of staying here. I think he's going to get out of here pretty quickly. So we can all see him. So we'll keep our eye on him. I don't think he's going to stay there long. Notice what he did? He pooped and then he moved. Right? People always worry about, am I going to get pooped on during a demonstration? They poop before they fly. So he's moved a little higher up in the tree there. We'll keep our eye on him as the evening progresses. And again, he's going to get out of here. We might not even notice as he leaves. So back to your question about how can you help us in doing what we do here. There are lots of ways. First of all, we owe you all a debt of gratitude for coming to visit us and being a part of our program and learning more about these birds and helping to support us financially. Again, all the proceeds from these events, yeah, we have to pay for catering and yeah, we have to pay for beverages and such, but the majority of your ticket price goes right back into operational work here at the center. Most of the work is done by our volunteer staff. So if you've got some free time and you think you might like to help us actively do the work that we do here, whether it's in the medical facility or whether it's with our educational programs, that opportunity is available to you. All the people that had birds on their gloves tonight are all volunteer staff. All the people over at the bar and the merchandise table, all volunteer staff. Talk to them about their experience. See if that might be something you're interested in. We have volunteer opportunities everywhere, from transporting injured birds from different parts of the state to our hospital, right? Maybe you don't have time to come out here every week and volunteer with us, but you don't mind driving 45 minutes to help transport a bird from wherever you live closer to us so that it can get the care that it needs, right? That's a great way to help to support us. And then, of course, the ultimate best support, we operate on our community's generosity, right? So if you are ready to write a big check for $1 million, I am ready to accept your big check for $1 million, or your small check for $5. All of the work that we do here is done on the support of our community. So we are not government funded. We are entirely community funded. So hopefully, do we have a barcode or a QR code over there that people can access? I don't know that we put that up tonight. You can visit our website, the Center for Birds of Prey.org. and learn more about how you might support us in your giving regime. It's a great time of year for that. End of the year is coming, right? If you want to write it off on your taxes for next year, you got a couple of weeks left. So if anybody is curious about how they might contribute to that, I'm happy to talk offline about that after the program. But those are probably the best ways. And then share your experience with others, right? Especially those of you that have never visited before. Somebody told you about this place. Somebody said, hey, go and experience this, and you came. And hopefully you enjoyed the experience, right? And hopefully you would recommend it to others, and hopefully you would come back and see us. We're very fortunate as a nonprofit organization that we have a product, so to speak, that we can sell you, and that brings us money. That helps us to do the work related to our mission. And you coming and visiting us is a part of our mission, right? Sharing these messages about birds with the people out there that can make a difference. So share your experience with friends and family. Come back and see us again soon. This is sort of the end of our program. Doesn't mean it's time for you to go if you don't want to. We've got a merchandise table over here. We've got staff around. We would love to share more stories and talk with you more if you are interested. One point about leaving before I wrap it all up, and that is that when you leave, you will leave in a different direction.
He is a part of our program. He's actually bred here. His parents are here. You probably met them during the walking tour. So those are his parents that y'all saw over there. He is 4.5 years old. And he's been on our flight team that entire time. So he is a human imprint. So when he was hatched, we started working with him almost immediately to be an education bird, to be an imprinted owl, to be able to do what he's doing now, which is free flight. He is not tethered to anything. There's nothing keeping this owl here. If he so chooses, he can go on an unauthorized field trip and fly wherever he would like, and that would be his choice. But that training starts from day one when he's opening his eyes, getting him used to us. It's rewarding him. We train with positive reinforcement. All that means is that when he does something we like, he gets a treat. The more and more he does it, the more and more rewards he gets. And eventually if he learns, I do this, I fly from point A to point B, and I get a reward for it. It's a lot easier for him to hang out with Siobhan and wait for a reward than it is to fly away and go try to catch something himself. So that's typically why they hang out with us and don't go on those unauthorized field trips so much. To give you guys a little more about this owl in particular, like I said, he is about 4.5, almost 5 years old. He's born here at the center, or hatched here at the center. And this owl is going to be one of our flight demonstration owls, as y'all are noticing right now. But part of that is getting him used to people. So it is very rare that you're going to be outside in your day-to-day life and have an owl fly this close to you. That's not normal. Owls typically are going to fly. If they're going to come by you, they're going to go pretty high above your head, trying to avoid us. We are a predator, so we do make birds that are also predators nervous. Predators typically are nervous around predators. I know I don't like when I come face to face with a mountain lion. So birds think the same thing. They're going to fly further up. You'll notice that this owl, however, does not. When he's going to fly in, he's going to start from that perch and he's going to swoop pretty low. That's due to the fact that he doesn't really view people as a predator anymore. He views you as a food source, someone who feeds him. And he makes that noise that he's making, as well as that Eurasian eagle owl over there is making an even louder one. But that noise is called a food beg. I'm pretty sure everyone in this room has heard the human version of that at some point in your life. It's when your little kid comes up to you and says, "Mom, I would like a snack right now." That is exactly what he's doing. He's looking at his mom, in this case it's Siobhan, and he is saying, "Hey, I would like a treat, please." And he's going to keep making that noise and asking for one until he gets one. Now, as a 4.5-year-old owl, does anyone think this owl is a juvenile? No, you are all very good on your owl knowledge then. He is definitely an adult. At 4.5 years old, he is an adult, a fully fledged adult. He should not be making that noise anymore. If he was out in the wild, he would not make that food beg. But since his mom keeps feeding him, he's going to make it all the time. But as he's coming back over this way, do y'all have any questions about the Asian brown wood owl? Yeah.
Kind of in general. So if they decided to like fly someplace else, would they always? You think they'd come back then?
So the question was, if one of our birds that's free-flighted decides to go on an authorized field trip, he decides to fly somewhere somewhere else, like maybe across the field, maybe next door into the property next door. He decides to fly away. The question was, would he come back? And the answer is yes. All of our birds are trained that when we give them a cue, they're going to come to us. Eventually, what we're going to do when he flies away is we're going to track him. All of our birds that are free-flighted have trackers on them. You may not notice it at night on him, but his is connected to his ankles that are around his ankles. It is just a little tiny transmitting beacon that we connect to him before he flies. It allows us to track him wherever he goes. Once we track him and we find him, I'm going to look at him up in that tree and I'm going to go, hey, come do what I'm asking you to do. And I'm going to keep asking until he does what he's supposed to do. He comes to me. Once he does that, he's going to get a reward. There's no punishment involved for it because there's no way for me to tell him, hey, you're not supposed to fly off. Why did you do that? Go in timeout now. There's no way to do that with an owl. So all I can do is ask him to do what he was trained to do, and the second he does it, reward him for that behavior. And then hope that he doesn't do it again. So of course that's how they're trained. So if he were to decide to fly off, all we're gonna do is Siobhan is gonna sit here for the rest of the night asking him to come back. And she's gonna stay here to 2, 3, 4 a.m. until he comes down while the rest of us go home and go to bed. But no, we would stay and help, but she's just gonna ask him to do what he's trained to do. You guys have any other questions about the Asian brown wood owl?
Yeah, what type of treat are you giving them since they eat mice and things like that?
What kind of reward or treat are we using for the positive reinforcement? Right now, Siobhan is using little beef bits. They're little tiny pieces of beef that are uncooked, that are cut up into nice bite-sized pieces. Owls like to swallow things whole. We also don't want him to get too full while he's flying, so we give him nice little bite-sized bits. These beef bits are really amazing for training purposes because they reward immediately and they give a nice reward. They're not very good for overall diet health though. So an owl like this is not going to be able to sustain himself just on beef bits. It'd be like us just eating cookies all the time. Wouldn't get very good nutrition from that. Owls need all of an animal to survive. They need the bones, they need the fur, they need the feathers. So when he gets his actual meal at the end of the night, once he's done training, that's going to be a full food item. Whether that is a mouse or a chick, he's going to get that full item, the bones, the beak, the fur, and the feathers. Going to use all of that to get all those nutrients that he needs. That will be his full food item. Here at the center, we feed from 5 main food groups. We feed fish, mice, day-old chicken poults, rat calves, and quail. So those are going to be the 5 food groups that our birds are going to get fed, none of which are alive. They're all not alive when we feed them, but they're going to be the food groups that are going to allow them to be a happy, healthy bird, all the nutrients they need, not just the beef bits that are kind of like a cookie for them.
So how do they eat the mouse or the chick, or the, like, whole?
So the question was, how do they eat the mouse or chick? So for an owl is going to prefer to eat that whole. Now, if that item is too big, if the chick is too big to consume whole, they will rip that into bite-sized bits that they're able to swallow whole, but they prefer to swallow their food items whole. So today, he's probably going to get a mouse this afternoon as his meal. That is going to be something that he's going to swallow whole. He's going to grab that with his foot, because he is a raptor. All raptor means he's foot-grasping predator. He's going to grab that mouse with his foot, bring it to his mouth, and swallow that whole. Now that you guys are getting a closer up view of him while Siobhan walks him around, I want you guys to pay attention to a couple of things on him. You take a look at his feet when she walks by. They're going to be on her glove. You notice he's going to have feathers all the way down to the tips of his toes. And those feathers are super important as they not only keep him silent as he flies and cuts down on the noise, they also have an element of protection. When you're a nighttime hunter and you're going after food that you may not even have ever seen, you may be using your ears to locate that food, you're going to need to have a little bit of protection. Not many people here, I think, want to go into battle with feathers as armor, but it does add a good bit of protection when he's grabbing a mouse, and if he grabs it sight unseen, maybe grabs the back half of the mouse, that mouse turns around and tries to bite him on his foot. That mouse is going to get a mouthful of feathers instead of any skin. So it does add a pretty good protection for him. As he's coming up close, take a look at those feet and those feathers on those toes. Do y'all have any other questions?
Yeah. Sorry.
No, go for it. I'm loving this.
So, say that in that scenario, will the feathers grow back?
in that scenario, would the feathers grow back? So just like all of us ladies who brush our hair every morning and find clumps of hair in our hairbrush, birds will lose feathers all the time. It's called molting. They'll lose the feathers and they grow back. Unlike our hair, though, I know that this took me a solid 3.5 hours this morning to look this good for y'all tonight. It takes a long time to look this good. It takes us time brushing our hair. Our hair doesn't really do what we want it to do. When we wake up with bedhead, it's going to be all over the place. Birds' feathers are a little different than human hair in regards to the fact that they actually grow along the muscle tracts. So birds can control their feathers and move each feather individually. So I like to think about it as if I woke up with the worst hair day ever, and I just thought about it, and all of a sudden my hair was perfect. That's what he can do. He can just ruffle those feathers and have them lay perfectly down.
Even on his claws?
Even on his toes, all the way down to the tips of his toes, those feathers will lay perfect. So it's pretty unique to have that. I kind of wish our hair worked that way. It'd be really nice in the morning. So it's a muscle that he can control. So just like you can move your fingers, he's going to be able to think about it and be able to ruffle those feathers and move them. Yep. Jaws, any other questions?
Hair, yeah. Put it go into place.
Anyone else have any other questions while he's walking around?
Do they, I have a question. I have a friend who's a falconer, and again, to prepare the birds to hunt or perform, as you're doing here, I mean, he does primarily by weight as to tell when the bird's hungry enough to hunt. Is that similar, or do you just know you haven't fed him and he'll want to perform?
So that is how most birds are trained. It's how most animals are trained. Most animals are trained based, food-based. If I'm eating all the time and I'm sitting on my couch after a large meal, I'm probably not going to run a marathon afterwards. So we don't feed our birds before they fly. We're going to feed them after. But we do use weight control to ensure that our birds are at a weight where they will fly. If a bird is super, super heavy, it's probably not going to want to fly out in the wild. If he just ate a huge, large meal like a rabbit all on his own, birds can eat upwards of 40% of their body weight in one sitting. So when they're eating that, afterwards, the next day, he may decide, I don't need to hunt. I'm good to sit. So if a bird here at the center is that heavy, they're obviously not going to fly. So we have our birds at what's known as a flight weight, which is a weight that's still heavier than what they would be out in the wild if they had meat. But it keeps them at a weight where they're willing to work and willing to fly, willing to consider Siobhan's food instead of just sitting in that tree for a couple of hours. So the same kind of principle. We weigh our birds that are on our flight team every single day and feed them based off of that weight, depending on if they're flying or not. No matter what, they're going to get that full food item though.
What would be a typical? This is my hand in my pocket, so it's helpful, but I'm just trying to warm it up.
So the question was, do we get a lot of wild birds to this area, specifically eagles and hawks? I'm going to tie in the vultures to this conversation because we do get quite a few of the vultures. We don't typically get a lot of eagles or hawks coming in because they see us feeding the birds.
Look at that.
Obviously, a wild bird is not going to come to us and be like,
So
hey, you've got
beautiful.
food, I would like to be your friend
So
and hang out
beautiful.
with you. That takes training to get a bird used to people.
Oh,
But we will occasionally, when we're flying the vultures during our flight demonstration in the day, we do see a lot of bonus birds, a lot of vultures come in.
Thank you.
Vultures are scavengers. They are looking for something dead. And the best way to find something dead is to find somebody else who's already found it. So vultures will look for other vultures, and when they see our vultures flying and doing behavior that's similar to a vulture that is already eating something on the ground, they're going to come in and kind of explore and see what's going on and see if there's food down there. Typically, once they see the people, they're like, I'm good, I'm gonna hang out over here. But every once in a while, we do get some wild birds that come. We call them bonus birds when they come through the property. It is a land preserve. This is 156 acres. It is protected land. So we do get a lot of wild birds on property just from the habitat that's here naturally. But not necessarily coming in just because we're here and because we're training birds. This is just a natural habitat that has a lot of squirrels and rabbits. It's a good place for them to come in and hunt.
What would be a typical predator of this bird in its natural habitat?
So a typical predator of the Asian brown wood owl in its natural habitat is going to be any larger mammal. Any dog, coyote, wolf on the ground is going to be something that could go after a bird like this. Humans are going to be the most dangerous predator to any bird. We are the most dangerous predator in the world. We are a predator. We don't always think of ourselves as one, but we definitely are. And that is going to be something that is dangerous to these birds. So we're the most dangerous predator to an Asian brown wood owl. But any large mammal can go after a bird of prey, especially when they're on the ground. And then larger birds of prey. Eagles, larger owls are definitely going to be something that this bird is going to need to look out for. Not always. Most owls are not going to go after another owl, but it's possible. If I'm a Eurasian eagle owl and I'm starving, that owl may look like a nice tasty snack for me.
What kind of diseases are they prone to?
What kind of diseases are they prone to? So birds are actually prone to a lot less diseases than we think. I was always taught as a child, don't pick up those feathers on the ground. They have diseases. They're gross. They're dirty. Good principle not to pick up something dead on the ground, but that wasn't always the case. I was always taught that the biggest disease to worry about is rabies. Everyone's so scared of rabies. Everyone's afraid of animals giving you rabies. Rabies is a mammalian disease. It's not something that birds can even get or pass to us. So you never have to worry about rabies for birds. Some of the bird diseases that you may want to worry about is there's been cases of avian influenza that have been passed to people. That is a bird disease that's found more in ducks and geese. However, it is fatal in raptors. So if ducks and geese have it around town, we do take precautions at the center to ensure that our collection is not going to get it from them, because that is fatal for our birds, where for a duck or a goose, it may just be a common cold for them. So they may get the sniffles and recover, but for a raptor, that would be fatal. Yes, there are quite a few medications that we can give them if we think they have it. We don't preemptively give them anything but a West Nile vaccine. So all of our birds in the education department do get a West Nile vaccine. That is a disease spread by mosquitoes. If you've lived in Charleston long enough, you know that's our state bird. So the mosquito is definitely common around here, and we do protect our birds from that. That's the only vaccine that our birds get preemptively.
The eyes, the darkness and the white, what purpose does that serve? For something in the daylight or something?
So owls' eyes, I'm not going to get into too much because I know Steven's going to talk a lot about this with the next couple of birds, but owls' eyes work just as well during the day as our eyes do. They have pupils just like ours do that dilate and then come back out. So just like our eyes have different colors throughout them, white, blue, black, or white, brown, black, they're going to have the same rings in their eyes as well that dilate and do that. But owls do not see in color. So owls have a lot of rods in their eyes. They don't have a lot of cones in their eyes. Cones are what allow us to see color. So owls do not see as well in color. You don't really need to when you're hunting in darkness. Everything's already a shade of black and white anyways. There's no need to have those colors. So they do typically see more in black and white than in color. Yeah, of course. Do y'all have any other questions, or I'll let you guys hit the bar and get warmed up before the rest of the flight demonstration?
I have a question. Do you feel like you have a relationship with this bird since you have fed it and trained it?
Do I feel like I have a relationship with this bird? That is probably meaning along the lines of that I get this question a lot of, does this bird like me? Does this bird recognize me? Yes, this bird probably recognizes me. I do work with this bird a lot, so it does recognize my voice, my whistle when I'm giving it food. We don't really talk about this bird as liking me or having a relationship with me. This bird only knows that I have food and I give it food. That is why it does what I'm asking. It is strictly for the food reward. It's not because this bird is like a dog, like my pet at home, who actually likes me and wants to be around me just to be around me. This bird only tolerates being around people because it knows people give it food. It gets a reward for that. So it's not necessarily a relationship like I would have with a dog or a cat. Birds are wild animals. They're not domesticated animals. Even though we think of birds as parrots and things as people having as pets, it's not still a domesticated animal. That bird does not want to be around you unless you're offering it something in return.
I don't know. I feel like my cat could be like that.
The cat.
Yeah.
So the question was, if you wanted to come back during the day to hang out during the day with us and make a visit during the day, we are open to the public Thursdays through Saturdays from 10 to 4 p.m. You can come in any Thursday through Saturday. We do 2 flight demonstrations during the day. We do one at 10:30, that's with all of our birds, so all different types of raptors. And then we do one at 2 o'clock, that is owls only. It's going to be very similar to the owl demonstration y'all will get next with the 3 owls that will fly for y'all later. But that is just a ticket that when you come in, you can come off the road anytime during those days that we're open. We also do private events on site on the days that we're not open to the public. We do education celebrations. We do school programs. We have schools come to us. We go to schools at off-sites. We do work parties. We do educational things for just general clubs around the area. We've gone to nursing homes. We've gone to banks. We've gone to zoo conferences. And we've even gone to education celebrations, which is our term for a birthday party.
Education celebration. It's a birthday party.
I have a question, just following up on the eye question. The difference in the feathers, like the lighter feathers around the eye and feathers causing the rays, is there a purpose?
That is actually a purpose related to their ears, not to their eyes. Which is also something I'm going to avoid not answering because Steven's going to talk all about it. I'm trying not to steal all of his stuff.
Okay.
But it has to do with their ears. I promise he'll give you the answer in just a few minutes. I'm just trying not to steal all of his stuff. He'll yell at me if I do. If y'all have any other questions, I have a couple of birds that are out on the love for y'all. I know y'all were on the tour first, so you may not have realized it. We have a Eurasian eagle owl out now. She's right over here with Mary Corbin. The Eurasian eagle owl is the largest of the owl species. It used to be the largest owl species. It's the largest we have in collection right now. She's the second largest in the world now. The Fisher's eagle owl beats her out by about 3 grams.
You gotta tell me twice. I'm on my way.
But she's going to be the largest owl that you guys are going to see tonight. And she will only be out for a little bit longer until poor Mary Corbin's arm gives out. You can't hold her anymore. She's a very heavy bird. She weighs 144 pounds. That's a lot of weight. Yeah, that was like...
Wow. Oh my goodness. Huge. Oh, she's like, who you calling huge? Look at that.
Yeah, I think the other 3 on the side are out right now. And on the other side, there should be a bird. Okay, so but there's not like an end thing. Yeah, you can walk over because there's this side and the other side for this. Yeah. Except on the other side, the middle enclosure is like double size, and those birds are the burrowing owls. So you may not see them because they might.
Hi there.
They're also very shy, so you have to kind of sneak up on them.
Look at that.
Smile, Mary. Come on out.
When you get him to look.
Look, this is the back of my head. There you go. There you go. Cheese.
Well, what's she calling for?
So she's looking for food. Yeah. She, just like all of her other owls, was raised by twins from hatching, and so she sees us as food providers, and eventually she's going to get her food. So she's just kind of
She
a
would just
random
like it
word,
now.
So she knows.
Yeah,
this
sort
is
of
one
like our
those
cat.
prizes that-
I know.
Yep, exactly like a cat. Exactly.
How much does she weigh? Or
About 4 pounds.
4 pounds?
Yeah, noisy
Feels,
one.
feels about like 40 right now.
40? Yeah, feels like it, yeah.
But their species can get up to about 8 or 9 pounds.
Wow.
They can get
Oh my
And
God.
this is from
Europe and Asia. So she's a Eurasian eagle owl. And typically, like Europe, you'll find her like Eastern Europe countries. It could be into Belgium, like the Eastern Belgium or France. In fact,
Oh
there's a
wow,
cool
that's incredible.
YouTube video of,
Wow.
of a family, the birds, but the one of the birds there laid her eggs in the window box of some guy in Belgium, and he's got a video of her raising these 3 chicks right outside his kitchen window.
Oh, awesome.
It's pretty cool.
He's a loud one.
Yes. Hopefully, you're gonna hear her.
Oh.
yeah.
Do you have any other
Love the
questions about
tufts.
her or any of the other owls? Have you been out here before, or is this your first visit?
First time.
First time, yeah. I think that she likes the camera. He, I don't know if he or she, but
It's a she.
she. I think she likes the camera. Cause she keeps looking right in it. What?
She may be hoping a mouse is gonna pop out of it.
Aw.
I don't think it's ever happened.
Oh,
You never know. It could happen.
I could turn a video of a mouse on.
These so the owl evenings are about once a month.
Once a month.
So we do one November, December, and then we'll do one January, and I think in February. And it's just the one time during their breeding season.
Would you like a picture
And
of
then
him
it's
standing
not
behind
during
you?
the summer months.
Oh no, thank you.
He's
So you're
beautiful.
not opening the
Yes,
evenings
he
then, like in the
is.
summer.
Not in the evenings.
Oh, actually.
We have one fundraiser
Hey,
that's it's in October.
I see you.
I don't think we have anything really
Yeah.
evenings other than that.
Yes, easy for you to say.
It's so awesome being this close to them.
Yeah.
And then we do seaweed downtown.
If he could though, he would eat you alive.
Oh, I bet. He's big enough to too.
Ain't her? So, yeah.
Yeah, it's not too bad. So that's in February. It's over. I think it's President's Day weekend, the Valentine's
Awesome.
Day weekend typically, and it's downtown, and where we are is in Marion Square, and that's free access. And we do a flight ride to have all of the birds that we have entered.
Okay, guys. That is going to be the end of this video until my hands in front of that. Sorry, making do here. Yeah. So this is going to be the end of this one, and thanks for joining. Ciao. Until the next time.